Hello, I am Pam and I'm going to show you how I made these great Humpties. Made out of scrap leather, about 1mm to 1.2mm thick. You only need scraps. The legs and the arms you can use a little bit thicker than that, but the head and the body part 1mm to 1.2mm. The stitch holes are about 5mm apart, so you can use a multi-punch for most of it, but then you might need a 2-hole punch or a single hole punch for some of the areas where they are pretty close together, the rounds and things like that. But yes, so have a look at this, a closer look at this one. He is about 5 inches wide, 13 centimetres, and about 6 inches tall, about 16 centimetres. This one I've made in all different colours. Absolutely enjoyed it, and you can have fun with the faces, all different colour threads. Like for example, his head here, I've done green, brown, white, green, yellow, pink, blue, and underneath here, aqua. Absolutely fun, really enjoyed it. The video that you'll be watching me make the Humpties, the demonstration, is this Humpty here. He has jointed arms, so I'll show you how to do these joints. He has also been made out of scraps, pieces, and I've managed to find enough pieces to actually make the whole Humpty. I have used belly for this part, which is really cool because it looks very much like a brown egg. In the description I've put a little bit of random information about Humpty Dumpty and where he actually came from. But I have such good memories of him as a kid. So I really, whenever it comes to a new hobby that I get into, for some reason I always have to go and make a Humpty Dumpty. And when I was doing felt work, I've done a lot of felt work, I made felt Humpty Dumpties. They're a little bit smaller, but they're also fun as well. And I have a pattern for them in the description area as well. So if you want to do it in felt, or if you want to do it in leather, I have a pattern for both. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.
Pattern comes in A4 size and A3. A3 doesn't need any joining, whereas the A4 needs joining along the Humpty line and the belt line. Have fun with the colours of leather that you choose to use. I'm using a mixture of leathers, so that was belly. This one here is just a piece of black leather, so I'm doing the boots and the gloves out of that. But you can actually do the boots different colour to the gloves. Have fun and use as much scrap as you can when making a Humpty, because Humpty out of scraps is really the way it should be, I think. Have fun with the colours.
Okay, I just want to talk about punching the hole, doing the rivet holes. For example, this is like super thick. I think this is like, looks like 3.5mm stiff veg tan. This is what you need to make the actual joints. It doesn't have to be nice at all. It's going to be hidden. All these parts will be hidden. The inside hole here has to be big enough to take your rivet. So when you put this round joint on top of the rivet, it moves slightly, which is fine because when you actually slot the rivet on, it holds it in place and it makes it actually move better. This one piece here of the pattern doesn't have to be tidy in the way you cut her in. That's totally hidden on the base of the Humpty. It gets totally covered, and it's there just to help you so that you don't pull the stuffing through the needle holes, and also to give the bottom of the Humpty a much firmer bottom. Easier to stuff, easier to sew up, and just makes it sit better in the end. So I do 3.5, maybe 4mm, depending on my punch for these little holes here. So 3.5 is quite a good hole for me for those. These are the arms. So we've got a left and a right, a front and a back. So the front and the back, I'll show you with a Humpty. This has just got a little rivet here, and inside the actual arm is a bigger rivet which is on the other side of this. So this is just for decoration. So on one side of the arm you can have a much smaller punch hole with a much smaller rivet. If you want to, you don't even have to punch those outside holes. I just did them for decoration. The inside hole that goes on the inside, which is on this hole here, that goes there, that I make that about 3.5 as well, maybe 3. These definitely need to be a bit bigger than these holes. These want to be semi-firm but not super firm, so it just fits, the rivet just slides through nicely. So that I might actually do 3, these 3.5. And down here, these little slots here, I actually just cut a slot down there. You can actually punch a hole and then do like a long opening, but this gets hidden, and this is these are just stuffing holes, so it can be just a slot. So once you've punched all your holes, definitely cut these triangles, but I'll show that later as well. So, and this is the face, so, and the head part, all the holes are 1.5. I actually use a 1mm punch on all the holes except for my rivets and eyes. So this one here, I'd probably do a 3mm punch hole, so that's where the arms get joined. These are the eyes. I actually use one side of a press stud. I actually find it stands out and looks like an eye rather than using a stud. I just find a rivet, I just find the press studs or the dome heads are much better, and they haven't got such a long pin, so you don't need a lot of leather like some of the biggest press stud rivets need. You know, the bigger the head, the longer the shank thing, and that's just too long for the eyes. So I use press studs for here, but I will show you when I come to that. But in the meantime, punch all your holes and cut the pieces out, and I'll be back. I'm going to punch my holes using, these are actually 5mm gap between, and they're 1mm punches, so they fit nicely. So my gaps are mostly 5mm apart, but obviously the odd one isn't. These ones are 5mm, but joining up here it's a slight difference. These are all 5mm apart, 5mm, but then I do have ones like these which are closer together where you'll have to use a single punch hole for some of those and some of the round bits.
Now it's just cutting out all the pieces and getting these triangles cut nicely out gives the Humpty a nice round bottom, so it's well worth putting the time and effort into cutting these out nicely. Once all your pieces are cut out, just put them all on top of each other just to make sure you've got all the cuts correct, you have all the pieces, and you're happy with all the colours that you've chosen.
Right, now is the time to do any dyeing or polishing that you'd like to do, depending on what leather you've chosen to use.
Here I am polishing my belly. This is the belly leather. I just give it a coating in dubbin just to give it a protective layer, and it does give it a nice sort of brownish look as well. Now to doing the face, we'll do the nose, the mouth, the eyelids, the eyelashes and the eyebrows. So we'll start with the nose. Have fun with colours. Try all sorts of colours. You can do green, orange, red, whatever colour you want. I'm doing the green nose. It's just fun to have as many colours on the Humpty as you can. With the eyelashes, I actually do it over twice. I double just to give it a much stronger look. With the eyebrows, I actually do them 3 times. just to make them stand out that little bit more. Now to do the mouth in red, but I have done the mouth in orange as well. Red I think is my preferred colour, and I definitely use the 2 needles to do the mouth to get a really nice stitched look. Of course you can do a totally different shaped mouth if you know how to do your own stitch holes. I just like the big smiley mouth. There's something about that, and that's what I remember on the Humpty I had as a child. The very first Humpty I had, I actually made myself. I remember watching Play School here in New Zealand, and they had a big fat Humpty. So I had fun with some old clothes and my mum's sewing machine, and I made my own Humpty. I think that's where I got into Humpties, is making, I must have been about 7 or 8 and thoroughly enjoying myself. I had the Humpty for many years as well, so it was so much fun and so many good memories.
Right, here we are back again, and I've got the whole face done. I've got my eyes on there, and these are the press studs. You can see the bottom there from the press stud. That there, yeah. So easy, it gives a nice look, it's safe, it's not going to pull off at all. So, next step. Right, so the next step, we're going to work on the 2 arms. So first of all I want to put in the decoration rivets, which are on the outside of his arms. I'm using a smaller one. You don't have to do this, you can just leave it plain with nothing there. So don't punch the holes if you don't want the decoration rivets. But I quite like them. To me it looks like he's been domed up. So make sure I put one on one side and one on the other side. Grab these tiny weeny rivets. Right, we'll sew the mitten part onto the sleeve part. So basically, we put that underneath there, like that. And we're using these holes, not that one or that one, we're using these holes here. So the first hole we want to go up into on the glove is this one here, which goes into here. And then this needle into here. Right, now that we've done that, that's all we need to do. We need to do the same with the other sides. Right, here we go. We've got the 2 arms, so they go together like that. And that goes together like that. So now we'll work on the legs. So we'll just put those aside. And we'll bring in the legs. So basically it's the same thing. This bit here goes on top, and you stitch from here across to here, just like that, on all 4 of them. It's the look you're looking for, so we leave these stitches for later, those holes. Right, so we've done the 4 feet and the 4 arms. Next step is to sew them together. Right, so now we want to actually do the arms, and we will be sewing them up and attaching them. So we do need these, and we'll need the rivets as well. I have some nice long rivets like this. It's quite a long rivet, so I'll just test it because it's got to go through that layer. But let's do it the way it's going to actually happen. So it'll go through one of these, it'll go through there, then it'll go through another one of these, smoother side like that. Yep. So first of all it will go through that, then that, and then we need the rivet top to go on top. So see how that sort of moves a bit like that? It's not completely tight. That's nice and fitting. This is loose because this little edge, tiny little edge, this bit here, I like that to actually go down into there, and then when I bang it on, it's more likely to work. And see how that goes nice like that, and then that we can stitch that on, but we don't stitch the whole thing up. So first of all, let's take that apart. That's just a test to make sure that my rivet is long enough and not too long, and you don't want them too short. So I'll grab another rivet because I'll need one for the other side, and I'll need a head. Right, it's always hard to get me out of those things. Right, so we'll put that there, close that. Now first thing we want to do,
when sewing up the arms, we always start from the back and about 3 stitch holes down from the rivet, and so we start about here. And so once we've sewn around up to the other side of that rivet, we can open it up and then stuff it and then attach it to Humpty. So have fun with colours, like I'm using a nice bright yellow on a brown leather, and it stands out beautifully. So his paws are black, or his gloves are black, and the arms are brown, which will match his legs. But I mean, you can do them all different colours, but have fun and try all sorts. So when you get to this point, this is where you stuff it, and you just stuff it up to where you have finished the stitching. It just makes it easier to stuff it down that length before it's actually attached to him, but don't stuff right up to the very edge. You want to make it as easy as possible to do the rest of the stuffing. Now we're going to attach the arm to Humpty. Very important to follow these steps to actually get a nice joint. Take your time and use the right length rivet. I've used thick leather for my inside joints, so I have picked a rivet that is the correct size. If you have regularly put in rivets, you'll know what I'm talking about. You've got to have the right length. Take your time and bang it on. Give it a feel, yeah, and you don't want it like super close, tight so you can't move it. You want it tight enough so it can move slightly, because it gets softer and softer and it eventually moves easier and easier. So this is the easiest way to do the joint. Once you've got the joint on nicely, then you can start stitching again right around the edge. Yeah, just push a bit of stuffing down and stitch till there's about 2 stitch holes left, and then you can stuff through those and then close up. Just watch, I'll do it in fast motion. It always pays to take your time when you're doing these final steps, just to get the edges nice and close up and even together. So basically, I know I've sped it up. I am really taking my time, and I'm holding the edges together so that they match nicely, and then I do stop about 2 or 3 stitch holes in and stuff Humpty. Not as hard around the rivet area as the arm area, but still nicely stuffed. And here we go, a nice joint, movable joint for Humpty. So now you just have to do the other arm, Have fun with your joints because it really does make a difference to Humpty having some good joints. Next step, sewing on his pants or his lower half.
Right, okay, so I've done that line of stitching here, along here, but stop here. So you want to leave that hole, because when we actually join the back up here, that gets joined along there, and then this gets done separately. So stop here and keep your needles. You want your length long enough to be able to just sew up that little seam here, and I've got plenty of thread left for that. So that's it. So next step is to put our 2 rivets on here. You can use any colours. These are supposed to be like Humpty's buttons, so you can use anything for these. I think I will just use what I always use, is little gold rivets. Right, let's sew up his feet, his legs now. So basically you make sure you've got one on each side and put them together. And you want to always stitch from this side first, not this side, and you want to start here, go all the way around and up to here. Let's go.
Pretty easy process here. Probably pays to do them both feet at the same time. And then that's if you have 4 needles, because you want to keep the length of the thread long enough to stitch around the leg and then stitch it onto the body. Once you get to this point, and I'm showing you right up to the stitching of where you join the top to the boot, come down and stuff just up to that area, because once you've attached it, it's really hard to get it stuffed down there.
So what we do is we take this needle here and we just go through one layer. Come out here, and then that goes into the first hole on here, and then we want to come up through the second hole and through here, and we're only going through one layer of the foot. We're not going through that side, we're just going through that side. Okay, and then we want to work our way down the line just singly like this.
And just repeat the same process up the other side as well. Now's a good time to stuff that leg and get it nice and firm and stuffed the way you like it. Once you've done that, then you do the other leg, and both legs should be done in no time.
Right, so we've got our legs on, we've got our arms on, so our next step is to actually join these bits here together, these bits. So we want to do that one, then we want to do that one, and then we do the back down to here. All we want to do is choose what stitch we want. We have the choice of doing a stitch like this, which, like this, where it looks like he's been sewn up, maybe broken and then sewn up, or you can just do this, that stitch. For this one, I think I'll do a mixture actually, so he looks like he's been stitched up and maybe broken and put back together again. Okay, so let's get to and do this. Right, so what I do is I always start from here and go down to here. I actually find that way the corners match better. So let's go from here.
I definitely take my time with this, and I always hold it with my fingers so I can pull it tight, but not too tight. You really want to pull those seams close in so they're tight, touching each other, but you don't want them to curl. So it does take a bit of practice, but it's well worth doing to get a really nice flat seam look, which is obvious whether it's a straight cross or just a simple stitch. But have fun and give it a look that you want. And then go ahead and do the other side, starting at the center and going downwards. And you start all over again from the center and go down the back, and you just want to go down with this color thread to his pants and then finish off there. Now we change over and start using the thread for our pants, and we just want to close up that top part of the seam and then come down the back of his pants.
Right, so now he's ready for the next step, which is actually bringing these around here, only using the first two holes. We don't want to use that final hole. So we need a long thread to go around and do all of that. Right, okay, so let's start with this area here. So we'll just poke a needle up that hole and that hole. Find the hole, come on, yep, there we go. I have got a long thread and I'm hoping my thread will be long enough to do this and the base. Right, so what we want to do is go in here and over to this hole here. And then down there to there. Pull that nice and tight, and this one goes in here and then over to here. And it goes round. And this one goes in here and then up to here. Yeah, that's got a little curve to it now. That's what we're wanting, is the curve. Right, so then for the next one we go into here and into here, then into here, let's have a look, into here and into here. Don't want to tie a knot. That goes there. Give it a pull and make it, see, it's curving round nicely for that one. So then this one goes into that stitch and then over into that one. That one and over into that one. Give it a little pull, and see how that curves around nicely now. Okay, so we want to do that all the way round. Right, now I'm at the halfway mark. You can sort of see how it's pulling itself in. See how that's standing up, and that's got like a nice circle now. It'll give like a gathered look, like fabric's been gathered in, and that's the sort of look that I was looking for. And then these all crunch up together. And then on top of that, once it's stuffed, that's when we put that bit there on top. And that gets on, and then it closes it all off and gives it a nice sort of like gathered, closed in bottom look. Okay, so now we've got to carry on, do the rest of this. Okay, here we go. We're coming to the end of this one. We'll just finish this. And I've got enough thread to sew the bottom on. So depending on if you have enough thread or not, you can just carry on with the next step. Which is through to this hole here. Okay. If you don't have enough thread, you want to just poke these through, finish off, and then start with a new thread through these two holes here. These two holes here. See how nice and round the bottom is now? Okay, so your new threads come here. I'm just using the old thread. Let's just give that a bit of a pull. Make that flat. Yep. Right, so the next step, what we want to do is just hold that. We actually want to stuff the Humpty now as much as we can, and give it a good stuffing. So what you want to do is put this bit in. This is like that ugly bit, thick bit of leather. It doesn't even have to be round. I like it round so I know where I'm up to. So I just poke it in there. It hides all the stuffing so it doesn't get through into your stitch holes. It just makes it easier. So you could make it bigger. You could actually make the circle as big as this in here. You don't want it much bigger, otherwise when we gather it in, it just looks terrible. So now we're going to sew this on. So we just want to start those two holes. Yeah, and you can go right or left. It doesn't really matter which way. Let's pull that up tight. So I make sure that the last stitches I did on here are actually tight. Right, so we will go through here. We'll put that through here. So it goes through there. And up into this one, and then into that one, a tug, and that one, down into that one, into that one. Of course, you wouldn't have it sitting on its head. Last thing you want to do is squish all the stuffing that you put in. I'm just doing it like this because it's easier to show you how to stitch it. Pull it nice and tight, pull it nice and tight, And so that's gathering this in slightly a bit more. So it looks like it's not going to fit, but it all gathers in and makes it nice and tight. Right, so with the cap, we're going to start from here. Start from here and go down here, come up, go down here, come up, go down here and come up. So we'll do it quickly like that. Right, so you want to put that together like that. Right, now it's time to do the belt. The belt can be any which way. I've actually put the pattern piece for like a small buckle, but if you haven't got any small buckles, you can actually just wrap it round and hand sew a button on, or use a press stud, or a double-sided rivet, or a rivet. You can leave the belt off, or just make it any which way you can. I'm lucky I do have this tiny weeny, absolutely tiny buckle, so I'm going to try and make it work for that. Okay, so he's got his belt on now. So he's got his belt just sitting on top of his pants. You show the line. You can actually have it sitting on the pants as well, like this one. It's sitting on top of the pants. So if we bring that up like that, you can see the stitching. So that one there, that one I've just stitched around it and put a button on it, and it's just closed together at the back. So there he is. There's my Humpty done. And the hat,